If getting sales still feels random, this is probably why. You've tried content, maybe ads, maybe referrals, but nothing ever seems to stick. And that's not because you're bad at business, it's because you're still guessing. And that is extremely exhausting. It is a waste of time and money, and frankly, it affects your confidence levels in the long run. So I'm finally gonna clear this up once and for all. First and foremost, we need to understand this. There are only 4 ways sales actually happen. Yes, it is that simple, meaning every past sale, every current thing you're trying to sell, and every future sale that you want to have occur falls into one of these 4 buckets. All you have to do is understand these different lanes, and your sales process will become so much simpler. And each one of those 4 things is basically going to boil down to these: known, unknown, organic, and paid. Once you understand this, every sale becomes so much simpler. All you have to do is just understand where you're currently at and where you would like to graduate to within the sales process. It'll help because now it won't feel so random. Now let's start with the first one. And I'm going to move myself over here so we can get a clearer picture. Now, what we want to start with, this is the easiest thing: known. What known is that people already know you. So think friends, family, coworkers, past customers, referrals, your email list. Anybody who knows you or knows your stuff exists is the easiest money to tap into. And when it comes down to it, you can always tap into that inherent relationship and leverage that trust. Because again, it's the easiest place to get sales. The reality is, if you can't sell to somebody who already knows you, and if you especially can't sell to people who already trust you, then graduating to strangers or new customers is not really the answer. Most people skip this because they want to look professional, but professionals make money. And reality is, all you need to do is to understand that the easiest path to getting that next sale is to just work with people who either know you or trust you. And here's exactly how you can start doing that. Make a list of 20 people that you already know. It could be past customers, it could be your friends, it could be your associates. It's somebody within your network that you want to ideally buy your thing, and they already know you exist, but you just haven't interacted with them. And reach out to one of them every single week, and that will be an extremely easy way to just begin to open a dialogue that will eventually turn into a sale. Don't start with a hard pitch, start with a real conversation. Those serve as your first bed of leads or people who are ultimately going to buy your stuff, but at this stage, this is the very foundation of how you actually graduate to the next stage, which is unknown. Now, unknown, again, if we want to think about this in slightly different terminology, is you're moving from the easiest level of sales, which is people who know you or trust you, to strangers. And this is going to be classic, the oldest way to sell to people: cold calling. So calling strangers, sending DMs, sending emails, door to door, networking, interacting with people who don't know you, they don't trust you, they are strangers. This is where you actually graduate to learning how to sell. This costs time, but it doesn't cost money. It is the oldest sales technique in the book. People, realistically, who can do this don't stay broke. They write their own paychecks. And the reality is everybody gets stuck in the easy phase, which is referrals and networking. That's where it's not really a game of sales. It's just a game of being confident enough to open a dialogue with somebody. When you graduate into the actual unknown, this is where things start to get real. And everybody seems to be afraid of doing this. And the reality is, if you keep sticking with this video, you'll realize that you can't skip this stage and go straight to the one that everybody wants to, which is paid advertising. You need to learn how to sell one-to-one before you can sell one-to-many. And that's why learning how to sell to people who are unknown one-on-one is the most valuable skill you're pretty much ever going to learn within really any sales. So I'm going to reiterate this. You just need to find strangers and you need to keep practicing. The goal is to hit more home runs, but you can't hit more home runs if you don't have more opportunities to step up to the plate. And I know it's everybody's least favorite thing to do, talk to strangers about your stuff and try and sell them, but that's what's actually going to help you get really good at this whole process. And here's how you do that. I want you to pick one way to interact with strangers, one way to reach them, and I want you to talk to 5 strangers every single day. If you do that for a bit, and guessing starts to disappear, the anxiety, the what if is going to start to disappear. You're going to get really good at sales once you start to become humbled and understand that, hey, these people who've never heard of my stuff, I need to get them to know about my stuff, I need to get them to trust my stuff, and I need to get them to actually give me money for my stuff. Do that for as long as possible, and the entire guesswork is finally going to start to erode because you're going to get really good at pitching to that. And the reality is, once you've gotten really good at talking and selling your stuff to strangers, then you can graduate to organic. And this is where a lot of people want to skip the process. But again, it is a rite of passage. Don't create organic content until you've gotten to the point where you could sell to strangers. And the reason for that is because a lot of people tend to get frustrated when they say, no, social media doesn't work for me. It's too slow. They post randomly. They get nothing and they kind of quit. It's not a content problem. It's often a patience and it's often a messaging problem at the end of the day. It's one of those two. So those are commonly going to be the most things that you interact with, I would say, on a day-to-day basis, which is videos, posts, blogs, podcasts, SEO, something that you create that people discover on their own. It's very slow. It's a long game, but the good news is it's 100% free to do, and the best time to start is right now. And the reality is, if you can just do this at least once a week, it will compound over time. It's a snowball effect. So what you want to understand is that this is where a lot of business owners tend to trip out. They go straight to organic content, meaning they hire a social media manager or they hire an SEO company, hence why I have an asterisk there. And then they try it for like a month or two and they say, oh, this doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for my business. The cold hard truth is organic works for every single business, but it is a long game and you need to know what message you're broadcasting. Hence why if you are paying right now to create content, if you are paying for SEO, if you're paying to do anything that's organic and you don't really understand what it is you're selling, you don't have proof of selling this to strangers, organic content becomes really hard because you're either waiting too little for it to take into effect, or more than likely the bigger symptom at play is you don't have any experience communicating this to a bigger audience because you haven't sold it to enough people one-on-one. You haven't sold it to enough strangers. But if you're at that point, here's how to solve that and create effective content without overcomplicating this. Write down the 10 most common questions that every prospect asks you over and over again. And literally just answer those questions with content. And you're probably asking yourself, what content should I start with? I always recommend video. That's the top of the ladder. Video is 10 out of 10 right now as the time of filming this video because you see their face, you connect with them, it feels like you're having an interaction. The lowest one is usually going to be blog posts. But at the end of the day, just doing any content is better than no content. And the reality is the content is not about you, it is about them. What do they get out of experiencing this content? Every business tries to overcomplicate this when they first start creating content. It's not a sales pitch. It's not trying to treat your social media as an advertising board. It's not trying to create a blog post that just says, look at how great we are, me, me, me. It's about giving goodwill. It's about creating value. It's about really solving their problems. When you have those 10 questions listed out, literally answer them with content and share them. So if, for instance, you're a CPA and you have 10 different questions about bookkeeping, about finances, about just, practices for your business, if you are a landscaper, if you are a physical fitness person, just tell people how to do the workouts, how to eat right, how to do all the things that they would ask you, whether you're a bookkeeper, physical fitness expert, it doesn't matter. What are the 10 questions that everybody asks you? create content around those, share that to your network. Over time, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram will start to pick up on those pieces of content and you'll rise to the ranks. That's it. It's free. All you have to do is stand in front of your smartphone and actually do it. And I get it. If I could promise you that you would make $1 million creating content, then you'd probably be more likely to do it. But the hesitation is always, I don't look good in front of camera. I don't know what to say. I don't feel like I'm confident enough. Look at me. I'm not the most handsome guy. I'm pretty nerdy. I'm pretty introverted. And yet I'm out here making videos. I recommend you do the same because let's face it, the person who's creating content, well, it doesn't really matter how far they get. They're going to get farther than you if you're not creating content. So the last one is where everybody wants to graduate and everybody wants to skip the process. And this is paid channels. Paid is ads, influencers, affiliates, partnerships, sponsorships, things that you are literally giving money in exchange to show your stuff to more people. It is extremely powerful. It is the catalyst for making money at scale, building relationships at scale. And I'm going to pause here because this is where most people lose the most amount of money. Paid can't fix confusion. It's just going to show you what's broken in your business, and it's going to do it faster. Let me put it this way. Paid channels are a catalyst for everything that's right for the business and everything that's wrong for the business. Only do paid after one of the other ones is working. And I recommend starting with cold, or meaning the strangers. I recommend fixing that one as fast as possible because then everything else inside of that outlet will work. In theory, you could do it with everyone, but you can't get to this portion without solving at least one of them, meaning it has to be known, unknown, or it has to be organic before you can get to paid. And I'm going to say that because I've been in this boat. I've wasted an exorbitant amount of money when I first started my first businesses on paid advertising and wondering why it didn't work because my offer wasn't validated. I didn't have a good enough niche. I had no proof of selling this one-on-one when I first started. I didn't have a system in place. And by the way, if you don't know what's broken in your business, you can also click below. There is a link in the description and there is a link in the pinned comment. And in just 60 seconds, you can see exactly what's broken in your business before you do any of these outlets. So you can skip years of trial and error, wasted money, and just get to the good part faster. So again, recap. Only do paid after one of the other ones is working. Then copy what works. Don't try and invent. What that looks like is... Again, this is going to sound familiar. Only start paid channels after one of the other ones is working, and then just copy what that works or copy how that works at scale. So at the realistically, what you're really looking for at the very beginning is my offer resonating with people? Does what I say make sense to them? Are the people who I want to buy my stuff responding to it? Once you do that, meaning that you've probably had a bunch of sales one-on-one, your organic traffic is getting the right clicks, it's getting the right views, or warm traffic, or I should say people who know you are responding to it. If you want to do any of those, then you just literally take that, the language, the text, the copy, the offer, everything inside of that, and you translate it straight into a paid ad. And at this point, if you, let's say for instance that you have a button on your website that goes to a widget that calculates something that your prospects want to know, you're just building a script that's going to revolve around the offer you've already done with that widget and broadcasting that to more people. In essence, you're still messaging, you're still targeting, all of this is still the same. You're just translating it from one to one. So one person who clicked on your content on your channel, or one person who responded to your cold call, or one person who looked at your stuff who already knew about you, and you're just evolving that into something that's going to translate into multiple strangers. The virtual version of you in paid advertising, or the affiliate that you're going to hire, or whatever you're paying into is now broadcasting that to many people. We call this a force multiplier. And the reason that we call it that is because it also goes both ways. If you're doing really good offers, if you have a really good target, if you have something that a lot of people respond to, it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. But if you're non-competitive, if your thing doesn't make sense, if you're still just kind of in that generic commodity business phase, you're just paying to broadcast that to more people. It's not a good use of your money. And at that point, you are losing money. So what you want to do is, again, only start paid after one of these others is working, then copy what already works. Now, let's zoom out for a second and go to our order of operations now that we understand all of these things and how they kind of interlink. I'm going to move myself here. First, start with known. Who in your network would buy your thing, and how can you get a conversation with them? Once you get that, you really start to understand what the dynamic looks like from interacting with a prospect. You already have built-in trust at that stage because they're likely somebody who knows you exist, and in some cases, they even trust you exist. They might have bought your past thing. Get in a dialogue with that person and try and get them to buy more of your stuff if they're a past customer, or if they don't trust you yet, they haven't bought your thing, but they still know you, still get into a dialogue with them and kind of understand them, empathize with them, pitch your thing, but don't hard sell it quite yet. You just want to open that dialogue and say, hey, I'm launching this thing, or hey, I have this thing. I'm looking for people who might be interested in solving this problem. I'd love to talk with you. Maybe I could buy you lunch. Maybe I could buy you coffee. And then you have, congrats, your first lead that can graduate into a sale. After that, we graduate into unknown territory. This is where things start to get real. People start to get cold feet at this stage. All you have to do is to understand that once you get really good at selling to a stranger because they've never heard of you, they don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you, this becomes your ticket to never being broke again. Now you can sell to strangers, and now you can sell to people who ultimately will start from just, hey, who are you, to here's my credit card. And then you migrate to organic, or I should say you graduate to organic, which is great. This is kind of how I sell to these people. This is who I'm selling to. I've successfully converted a bunch of strangers into revenue for my business. Now they ask a lot of different questions, and I'm going to take those questions and make content so that when they go to Google, when they go to YouTube, when they go to Facebook, and they type in that search term, my stuff is going to appear. They're going to watch it. They're going to absorb my blog post, my YouTube video, something like that. And they're going to say, wait a minute, that's me. I'm going to then go and pursue this person, and hopefully they're going to buy your thing. That is the slow, long game, but it is free. It only costs you time. You need to make one video, or you need to make one blog post. You need to do one thing that you can just create, and then over time, you plant that seed. It evolves. It branches out. The algorithm finds more people to watch it. They are interested in your stuff now because you're giving away value. They want to actually buy your stuff. And it actually does a lot of the heavy lifting in a sales process too, because you're earning a lot of upfront trust. And then finally, we graduate to the holy grail of marketing, which and sales, which is paid. How can I pay my stuff, or how can I pay an outlet, I should say, to show my stuff to more people, and how can I get those people to feel enough of what I'm saying to respond to it? And this is the part where everybody tends to overcomplicate it. They want to skip straight to going to paid ads in their business. It won't work. You're going to waste way too much money because, again, it is a force multiplier, but it goes both ways. If your stuff is good, if it's competitive, if your offer makes sense, if you have a clear target in mind, you're just literally broadcasting that to as many people as possible. You put a little bit in, you get a lot out. But a lot of businesses are usually not competitive. They don't have a clear target. Their offer, if they even have one, does not make any sense. If you're falling into the camp where it's the latter and your stuff is just kind of the same as everybody else's, you don't really know who you're selling to, you don't know what the market responds to, never run a paid advertisement because you're just going to burn a bunch of money. Now let's recap this. Most people start on the right and try and work their way backwards. That is why this feels so hard. That is why sales tend to feel difficult. They feel random, and they feel like nothing they do is actually working. And if your business feels stuck, if nothing you try seems to move the needle, it's not because you're missing effort. It's because you're not fixing the one thing that is actually holding your business back first. If that sounds like you're not broken. And if you're not sure what's actually holding you back, you can click on the link in the description or the pinned comment, and that will tell you in less than 60 seconds the one thing that is holding your business back from the success that it deserves. All you have to do is just answer those. If you're tired of guessing, click it. I hope this video provided you with the clarity that you actually needed for your business. And I put out a video like this once a week, so be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest techniques and secrets that I'm putting out. And if there's something that you're still struggling with, make sure to comment below. I can answer it individually for your business. But that's all I got for you today. Until then, I'll see you next time.